Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, red dragons of all ages, welcome back to Finger on the Pulse. I'm Nate Fingerman, and I'm joined today by Natalia Scvilla, model coordinator for Student Fashion Society. Natalia, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
What is Fashion Society all about?
Fashion Society is all about that place where the big fashion program at Oneonta, the classes, the majors, where they meet the people who have a love for fashion or have a love for the things that make fashion go, like photography and writing and design and even just styling. Anyone who loves fashion can meet the program at the club if they have other interests. Like myself, I'm not a fashion major, so I joined the club because I wanted a place where I could meet the fashion program and get involved.
What are some different creative areas that the club can offer members?
The main area, of course, is the runway show that's held annually. I know in some past years it was held twice a year. There was sort of like a mini one in the fall and a bigger one in the spring. But now we mostly focus on the one in the spring to give the designers the best chance because it takes hours upon hours to create an original couture collection, which is what we challenge them to do. And then the other components are mainly the magazine, where again, any student can join. We have our e-board, of course. We have magazine coordinators who are in charge of the conception of the whole thing. And then we have people volunteer to write articles, to take photos, to star in the photo shoots, and even to come up with style pages. Really anything you would ever want to publish in the realm of fashion and media, you can do it through that magazine. And then again, it's just all the pieces that go into that show, that go into that magazine. Like again, you can even end up in the set design trying to reimagine the stage for the upcoming show.
Well, that sounds very versatile indeed. You mentioned the Spring Fashion Show. When and where is it for those interested in attending?
So the Spring Fashion Show is in Alumni Fieldhouse, where they transformed the gym into a full runway setup. It's a big transformation, and this year it's going to be on April 25th.
Oh, I'll make sure to mark my calendar. Why is this year's show unique compared to others?
So every year for the show, we get to vote on a different theme. It's almost, as you may have pointed out, it's a bit Met Gala-esque, where we come up with an in-depth theme for the Scene 1 designers to go off of. Like last year, it was about like ethereal elegance, because that was a very trending, emerging trend. And so this year we went with, after consulting with the members, consulting with our advisor, and having a big vote, this year's theme is going to be Rococo Revival. So essentially we're taking it back to sort of like your French Revolution era fashion, the political statements that were happening there, and those motifs that we're seeing coming back in fashion today as politics moves forward.
They really have been moving forward. What are some of the challenges that come with putting on an event of this magnitude?
The biggest challenge is always going to be coordination, because it's one thing to have an event where lots of people are attending and you have lots of guests to account for. That's only half the aspect. Our e-board alone, I believe, has well over 10 members. So just coordinating between us what everyone needs to do for the show. Then there's also the tickets. It needs to be filmed. It needs a DJ. It needs the stage to be created. I myself have to host 5 different model boot camps to try and train and prepare all of these models who may or may not be in the club to prepare to be on a runway and to be filmed and photographed. And of course, we want to make sure that no one's garments that they spent hours sewing are damaged, and make sure they're all captured correctly and we do them justice. So it's a huge ordeal. But again, it's both a blessing and a curse. We have so many people, so it's very, making the group chats, setting up the calls, the meetings. That's all one thing. We actually meet every single week just to go over everything we've done in 1 week. But that's also our blessing, because that means when someone's life gets busy, people start falling behind, there's someone else who steps up and says, all right, I'll be there, I'll take care of this for you.
Sounds like your club is building a wonderful community, and that's always great to see here in Oneonta. How does the Student Fashion Society prepare its members for a career in fashion?
It offers almost an external experience. The Student Fashion Society has connections. They actually just recently did a collaboration with a thrift shop in Southside Mall, where I believe it was someone who's an expert thrifter came to speak. So you end up working with professionals. I myself, I have an internship program where I connect interested modeling and directing students to my outside professional network.
Congratulations.
So, thank you. So through the club, you can meet people inside, outside SUNY Oneonta. We've seen some designer collaborations, people who met through the club and are now designing collections together. or who want to move forward in the fashion industry together. It's a place to master your skills and find your niche without all of that super competitive, super edgy feel of being in a big city where you feel like you have to fight just to get your foot in the door. You don't have to do that here. You can test out everything if you want. I've had students who started out behind the scenes, maybe on set design, just trying to do an article for the magazine, and then ended up modeling, ended up directing entire photo shoots, or, really pursuing it when it was just a hobby at some point.
Very, very nice. Who are some of your fashion inspirations, whether that's designers or models or celebrities?
Well, given what I do, it's mostly going to be models. In terms of fashion, that personal style that I look up to, I would have to say Bella Hadid. Always, I wish any of her outfits were affordable. I would buy them all, but they're not, and also shop sustainably. But in terms of, I guess you could say fashion attitude, fashion beliefs, I would have to say my biggest inspirations there are probably Anuk Yai and Alex Kansani, both of which were models who were most recently on the Victoria's Secret stage.
Thank you very much for explaining. My next question was going to be, who are they?
Oh, perfect.
So we've seen fashion change a lot in the 2020s, especially since the pandemic. What do you think will be 2026's next big fashion trend?
Well, I know that we saw, sort of as an outcome of the pandemic, we all wanted to feel a bit united, a bit uniform, a bit recognizable. So we saw a big resurgence in minimalism as people wanted their lives to feel luxe and to feel very matchy-matchy. I think, again, especially because of the political climate, I think identity, maximalism, personality is going to come back in a big way. I think we're going to see colors. I think we're going to see patterns. I think even with Alyssa Liu doing she has the iconic hair pattern. Yeah, I think even hair dye being incorporated. Yeah. I think we're going to see people's personalities, their backgrounds, their ethnicities. I think even personal brands. We're seeing a lot more big logos and graphics and a lot less of these uniform basics. Yeah.
Thank goodness. If you get me started on minimalism, this show would be an hour long. I despise minimalism. I love, big, bold patterns and design and intention in design. So thank goodness I'm looking forward to this year fashion-wise very much because of your insight. So you mentioned earlier that you weren't a fashion major, but what have you learned from Fashion Society that you would use in your career later on?
I never intended to go into fashion when I first came here. I was I love watching Project Runway. My great-grandma asked me to do some figure modeling for the senior art class,
sweet.
And I was okay, I didn't think much of it, but then when I got to Student Fashion Society, I just became completely obsessed with how you can create a story and you can create a moment through a photo, through how you can empower people by turning, you can make any regular person into a model if you find the right energy within them and you find out who they're supposed to be, what message they're trying to tell. And so again, I ended up creating a internship program for people like me who maybe they wanted to get into modeling or they wanted to start telling their story but didn't have a place to do it. So I'm actually planning on taking that program and continuing it. And again, I very much want to stay centered in the upstate New York community, which I know is unusual coming from someone going into
I like it up here too.
Fashion professionally. But I'm even thinking about creating, I'm in talks with, ironically, someone who works at Binghamton University. I'm in talks about creating an app to help unify creatives and professionals in upstate New York specifically, rather than leaving it open, leaving people open to predatory agencies, to being exploited, to just letting people collaborate and grow from right here. Because we have the talent, we have the numbers, but when everyone's so spread out, it's so hard to meet and communicate. And I hope in my professional future I can help fix that problem.
I'm sure you will make a great impact. It sounds very rewarding to be able to help people realize the creativity that they have inside, even if they haven't seen it themselves. So that sounds like a really cool thing to do. And thank you so much for joining us today. You can, of course, plug the Fashion Society social media. That's fun.
Absolutely. It's at Oneonta State Style on Instagram.
And you can find us on Instagram at WireTV Oneonta. Find more of our videos at youtube.com/WireTV. And until next time, I am Nate Fingerman with Finger on the Pulse.